Hiya, welcome back to another One Piece chapter review. This will be chapter 1097. It's titled Ginny, so I can assume from that it's going to be all about Ginny. As I figured last week, we're going to be the continuation of Kuma and Ginny growing up in Sorbet Kingdom. Hopefully, we'll get some more clarification on how Kuma eventually wound up being the king of Sorbet Kingdom, and we'll get confirmation, hopefully, that Ginny is indeed Bonnie's mother, which it is really strongly looking at like so far. So, with that, let's hop right into the chapter. A cover request by Takashi, Kuma catching salmon in a river. And we have a young adult-ish looking Kuma. He's not fully an adult. Well, maybe he's fully grown, but he's not as grown as he was in the current story. He's not wearing his hat. He's got his hair grown out to about the length it is when we meet him in the first time for the first time in the story. He's got the bear ears, which is his hair actually. I guess the way his hair naturally grows, it grows into those little bear ears. You got Kuma trying to catch fish, but his pawpaw fruit is making the fish disappear. We've got Ginny in the background. And Ginny is an adult too. She's got a grill ready, so she's, I guess, planning to grill the fish Kuma catches. And we've got the two guys in the background. I believe these are the two people we see in Ginny's crew, which I guess it was confirmed that they are from the Sorbet Kingdom, so that's interesting. Nice little cover page. It's interesting that Oda chose to do a cover request that is about Kuma, and he chose to draw it in a way that shows off some of the characters that will probably be featured in this chapter. We've got Ginny. We've got those two guys from Ginny's crew. Okay, notes from Oda. I was pretty shocked when I realized Io-san from Zun was the man behind La Okaki. I just can't get in. I just can't get that comedy duo out of my head. Well, that's interesting. Okay, Sorbet Kingdom, South Blue, 8 years after the God Valley incident, so that makes it 30 years ago. Please help me, Komachi. I've been coming here. Er, yeah, okay. Please help me, Komachi. I've been coming here since your pa was around. Came as a nasty shock when you all went and disappeared on us. But it's comforting to know you grew into such a sweet boy. Your parents did a great job. I'm sure they're so proud of you becoming a bona fide clergyman. Okay, so Kuma has become a clergyman, so he actually was literally a man of the cloth, which completely explains why he carries a Bible wherever he goes. It's not just an aesthetic thing or even a, well, sort of a philosophical thing, but actually it was, and I suppose maybe it still is technically, since he never like renounced the cloth or anything like that, his profession, his calling in life. He was a clergyman. So days and months pass by. We've got Kuma. He's a young adult. He's got patches on his clothes, but he's wearing basically the outfit that he wears as a warlord, but it's tattered and torn, and he's got a big white shawl over his shoulders. There are hardly any young'uns left in this country nowadays. It's no wonder we're getting poorer and poorer. Ah, what a relief. I feel so much better. Bless you. Me next. My hips are killing me. So we have Kuma here. Oh, Pastor Bartholomew Kuma, 17 years old. Okay, so he's 17 at this time. So, as I was saying, he's basically dressed like a clergyman, but his clothes are tattered. He's using his paw powers to repel the pain and fatigue out of the elderly, and it seems that there are lots of elderly on the island because they mention that there are no youngins left in the country, which I suppose we can assume that might be due to the celestial dragons, because this old lady here that's speaking or was speaking confirmed that Kuma's parents and Kuma originally lived here in the Sorbet Kingdom. The celestial dragons kidnapped them. Then after Kuma escaped, he returned home to the Sorbet Kingdom. So this is definitely where Kuma was born. So that brings up the question of, were there more buccaneers here? Or was Kuma's father the only buccaneer that lived here in the Sorbet Kingdom originally? But Kuma is a natural citizen of the Sorbet Kingdom. This is his homeland. That is confirmed. We've got young Kuma, and as I was speculating, since the Celestial Dragons apparently attacked this place to get the remaining Buccaneers, I wonder if they took all the young people from the island and left all the elderly, because they would be pretty useless as slaves, even though the Celestial Dragons typically don't care about that. They'll take anyone as a slave. It's more about power and dominance than actually how efficient the slaves are in the end. Or is it that just that the younger people naturally migrated away from the place because of a fear that the celestial dragons might return to the place, right? Return to the country? Either way, it seems that there are lots of elderly on the island, on the kingdom. Okay, so next panel. We can't thank you enough. God bless your miracle hands. Can't you do this on weekdays too? Fat chance, only Sundays. Oh, and here's Jenny. Where do you freeloading old bags get off asking for even more help? Haha, we've gotten the attention of little Miss Cheapskate. Quit flapping your gums. This isn't a nursing home. I tell you to wash your mouth out if you weren't such a cutie pie. I heard there's no end to the number of suitors that come knocking on her door. Okay, so we've got young adult Bonnie here, or not Bonnie, excuse me, young adult Ginny here. So we've got a little bit more about her character. She's apparently a cheapskate. Well, we kind of got that in the last chapter, that she's not as mild-mannered as Kuma is. She's a bit more fiery. And since they're poor, it kind of makes sense that she would become a cheapskate. Even though Kuma's doing this for free anyway, apparently, so. She's wearing a shirt that says sister on it. I guess that's kind of her way to keep her brother in mind. Don't change the subject. None of them have a chance with Kumachi here. Just looking into that calm face of his is enough to comfort anyone. You're too kind. You're the one who's too kind, says Ginny, yelling at Kuma as he's responding to the elderly. Okay, Ginny is 21 years old. To tell the truth, we'd love to donate and support our Kumachi, but we've all been struggling just to meet the celestial tribute recently. I'm sure you've heard about our new king, right? Okay, so we might just get how Kuma ascends to the throne. And this confirms that at this time, Sorbet Kingdom is officially part of the world government, which I, hmm, I feel like that shouldn't have ever been in question, but it seems like it might have been in question at some point. But they're paying the celestial tribute, so they are definitely part of the world government, which means that when the world government came through to take Kuma, as a child, they were technically coming through one of their allied kingdoms, which they have done before in the past. They generally don't care. Being a part of the world government just means that you pay a tribute to the celestial dragons in the hopes that they won't come and put the boot on your neck eventually, but they'll do it anyway from time to time just because they can. They have that power in the world. But this confirms that Sorbet Kingdom is, and probably was, even at the time of Kuma's kidnapping, a part of the world government. This also proves that it had a king previously before Kuma. So there was a king at the time Kuma was taken. Okay, let's see the next panel. They say King Begori is a cold-hearted monster. He's hell-bent on paying the tribute, and he doesn't care about whether us old farts are too sick to contribute. So, okay, we've got a picture of the previous king, King Begori. He's not a very friendly-looking fellow. He's got a crown on his head. Of course, he's got the sort of regalia. Is that blonde hair? He's got a pretty large nose. A beard. If we can't, they'll lock us up. He's the worst. The other day, an acquaintance of mine ended up starving to death in their cell. Can you believe that? That miserly king of ours won't even feed us prisoners. He's even more of a cheapskate than you, Ginny. Yet he's happy to bend over backwards for the celestial dragons. If we don't stay in good health, we're gonna get killed. As Kuma speaking, I can get rid of any pain or mild illnesses you need me to, so please visit every week. Thanks so much, Kumachi. Now all the elderly people are leaving, and Kuma's waving goodbye to them. Looks like it's nightfall now. And there is a huge bubble of pain. Looks like it's a huge bubble of all the collective. I'm assuming this is all the collective pain that he repelled out of the elderly people. Okay. Because that does sort of bring up a question. Like, generally, what happens to those bubbles of pain when Kuma repels them? Do they just pop and dissipate, or do they have to be taken and absorbed and have something done with them? Like what Zoro did back on Thriller Bark? This bubble here, I think it confirms that when Kuma repels the pain, that it stays and it has to go somewhere for it to dissipate. Okay, but next panel, Kuma is sweating. Huff, he's breathing heavily. He shoves his hands into the bubble, and yep, he's absorbing all the pain just like Zoro did. Well, that is interesting. This shows that that Kuma has actually done exactly what Zoro did. Uh, let's see. Yeah, this bubble is. I'd have to go check the panels, but I think it is It's gotta be bigger than the bubble, or at least about the same size as the bubble that Zoro absorbed in the fight with Luffy, since this is the collective pain and fatigue of all of the elders in the Sorbet Kingdom. We don't have an idea of the populace, but just looking at the panels that have shown so far, it's about 10 or so-ish people in this one scene here. So assuming that he's been doing it all day and he takes about 10 at a time, he could get through, I don't know, maybe a couple of hundred people a day. So that is a whole lot of collective pain and illness and anguish that Kuma is absorbing. Yep, the whole church is shaking. Kuma is crying out in pain. Ginny is holding her knees and crying. Now Kuma's laying on the ground, smoking after having absorbed all the pain. They have no idea you're taking on any of their pain, Kumachi. But you keep doing this week after week. Can't be helped. If someone doesn't shoulder their burdens, that pain and suffering of theirs won't just disappear. It'll be left to fester, returning to haunt them again and again. Okay, so this confirms, yeah. That pain and suffering of theirs won't just disappear. It will be left to fester, returning to haunt them again and again. More than anything, I'm just glad that I can do something to help them feel happier. Sorry for putting you through this. I'm sorry for putting you through this, though. I'll get tougher so you won't have to worry. That's not the point. So yeah, Kuma's really beaten up here, absorbing their pain and suffering, and Ginny is tending to him. This actually explains why Ginny yells at the old elderly people in the kingdom, because they rely so heavily on Kuma not knowing that he is in fact taking on all of their pain and suffering. So her concern for Kuma is why she's yelling at the elderly people, and they just assume it's because she's stingy. But yeah, this does confirm a bit more of how Kuma's paw power works. When it repels the pain and suffering of someone, it does indeed have to be absorbed by someone else, or it apparently lingers, gets stronger, and returns to the person that the pain was originally repelled from. Which does make sense, because devil fruit powers do typically have drawbacks, and we originally in the story we weren't seeing what the drawback to Kuma's power was in terms of repelling pain and suffering, but now we know what that drawback is. It's that it has to be absorbed. And if it's not absorbed, then it will grow in size and return to the original person. So yeah, Kuma is extremely kind to be doing this for the elderly in the town or kingdom. Okay, next panel. Hey, we got a little food as thanks today. Let's eat up. Woohoo, dinner time. So that makes Ginny happy. Ginny's eating. Kuma's laughing. Okay, now we're at 25 years ago, when Kuma was 22. Hey, Komachi, let's get married. Huh? We can't. What the hell's with that reaction? Of course we can. You love me, right? Just admit it, you dope. Wouldn't it make you happy? I'm sure it would, but the thing is, and now Kuma's remembering his father. Just take me. I'm the one with the buccaneer blood. My wife is normal. Please let her and my son go. Now Kuma's thinking, I don't want to make you unhappy. Look at this. It's another article about those freedom fighters. They finally issued wanted posters for them after they initiated riots in several countries. So Kuma's reading a newspaper and Ginny's watching. She's got the ellipses, so not sure what that means. I guess she's just listening, or maybe she already knows or suspects that her brother is involved with the freedom fighters. Dragon. He's so cool. He looks like a hero. And so we've got a picture or early wanted poster of Dragon. They're not showing anything really. It's just his photo in the newspaper. So it's not a wanted poster. One day I want to head out to sea and dedicate my life to saving people too. Hello, is anyone home? Ginny, our sweetest muse. We had a massive haul today. Please help yourself. It's those guys again. Those guys that ended up on Bonnie's crew. They're bringing fish to Ginny. Kuma, thanks so much Mr. Fishmonger. Clang, ouch. Bonnie threw a bucket at Kuma. Idiot. Then, 22 years ago, something major happened. The people you've kidnapped, let them go. So Kuma is facing off against, I don't know who these people are. I guess there's some pirates or bandits. Save us, Kumachi. What are you yelling about, you big oaf? You're trying to pick a fight with the royal army. That's treason, you know? Okay, so this is the royal army. Okay. Castle Town, the Kingdom of Sorbet, when Kuma was 25. He's apparently a pastor from some church in the southern province. Hey, pastor, didn't you hear about the new law? We're allowed to do whatever we want to you southerners. You're planning on enslaving them? I won't let this pass. Wah! He's a rebel! Whoa, so we've got Kuma using, looks like the Ursus shock on the Royal Guard as they're trying to take citizens hostage, kidnap them and make them slaves. My liege, this new policy, the people might find it hard to swallow. It is of no consequence. They'll soon grow accustomed to their new status. Before long, it won't bother them. They'll come to see the Southerners for the vermin they are. So this is the king talking about his new policy. From this day forward, the borders of Sorbet shall stop at the edge of the northern province. The amount of celestial tribute is decided by a country's population, you see. We'll no longer be weighed down by all those old fossils in the south. We must cut out this cancer so the fittest of this glorious nation can thrive. Okay, so we've got a map here. We've got the northern province, the castle town, and the surrounding cities area. Kingdom of Sorbet. Then we've got a dividing line through the center of the island. It's a horizontal line. And then we've got the southern province, which they're calling Lawless Land, Old Folks Village. We've got Kuma's church and a forest. So the king, in order to pay the celestial tribute, is dividing the kingdom in half. So the northern province is the actual kingdom of Sorbet official, and the southern province has just become a lawless land. So is this plan official? I suppose it is. Because the northern area is of course, the densest population is around the kingdom, the king, and the castle. So this will be the official world government kingdom and pay the tribute. This becomes a lawless land, which means that not only can people from the northern province come in and do whatever they want, the Celestial Dragons could also come in and do whatever they want here, because this is not even officially a world government nation anymore if the king's plan goes through. Okay. Now, could this have something to do with why Kuma originally became a warlord? Okay, putting on my speculation hat here for a moment. Let's see. Kuma's not a pirate yet. Well, a revolutionary. I guess he was a revolutionary before he was a pirate? Or maybe he was a pirate before a revolutionary? Let's see. Okay. He becomes a king. He becomes a king. He was a revolutionary. Actually, has Kuma ever been officially described as a pirate before he became a warlord? I have to think about that and go back in the story. He's known as Kuma the Tyrant, a tyrant king. He's known as a revolutionary only to the people that knew him. Because in the general world, it seems they know Kuma as a tyrant king and a pirate, since he's a warlord. So maybe not many people knew he was part of the Revolutionary Army. So what I was originally trying to think about is why he ended up joining the warlords. It seems like this, to protect the kingdom, Sorbet Kingdom, could be a reason. Because once Kuma becomes a revolutionary, technically that would make, as the king, that would technically make all of his kingdom traitors to the world government and no longer sanctioned by the world government and open to being destroyed by the world government. So that could be a reason to become a warlord. And the other thing I was thinking about as a possible reason for him to become a warlord is once Bonnie is born, Kuma could trade away his freedom and become a warlord, and then a slave, and the model for all the pacifistas, in exchange for the world government not killing Bonnie for being a buccaneer, for having that buccaneer blood in her. So I'm looking at those as two major possibilities for why Kuma ended up becoming a warlord. Okay. So we've got the plan here. Lawless land. Next page. In jail. We've got Kuma in jail, in a cell. He's got shackles on. Looks like Ginny is next to him, and those guys that end up being in Bonnie's crew. Have they been named yet? Just call them those guys, the one guy with the cowboy hat and the other guy with the kind of rooster crescent on his head. Okay, we got Kuma speaking. Tell me, what made them arrest you too? Oh, and I did mention that at this point, Kuma has his hat. He still had the shawl on, but after fighting with the royal guard and getting arrested, they've now taken the shawl away. And without the shawl, he looks pretty much just like he did when Kuma first appears in the story. So around 25 is when he started to look like the Kuma we know in terms of what he's wearing. So tell me, what made them arrest you too? We raised hell trying to get them to free you, Kumachi. But they gave us a thrashing in the end. So Ginny and these three guys, the cowboy hat guy, the guy with the rooster head, and now this other guy whose head comes to a point and he has a little tuft of hair on top. So they all try to fight to get the royal guard to free Kuma after he was arrested, and they all got arrested too. Now with Kuma, Ginny, this country is on the brink of becoming a cesspool of bigotry and hate. King Bakori is a celestial dragon puppet. This is Ginny responding to Kuma. King Bakori is a celestial dragon puppet. This new policy was given to him from on high. If you plan on starting a rebellion, you'll be signing up to fight the world government as well. Yeah, she's talking sense to Kuma because Kuma is really upset by this new policy. He's clearly angered. Okay, boom. Wow, who are these guys? Kia, Your Majesty, we must flee. So we've got an explosion in the castle. Looks like someone is attacking the kingdom. As if we would let you escape. This is what you get, you wannabe celestial dragon. You make me sick. So we've got silhouettes of Ivankov and Dragon. The king's been overthrown. His slavery laws are no more. Thank goodness. I hated what this country was becoming. And so we've got a narrator box. And so this mysterious band saved the kingdom of Sorbet from the corruption of the world government. It didn't take long for the two pillars of this movement to become three. As Dragon and Ivankov recruited Kuma to their cause, this organization would adopt a new name, one that echoed around the world, the Revolutionary Army. Okay, let's... Okay, looks like the man you recommended went on quite the rampage. You're going to love him, Dragon. Kuma, Ginny, I see you've gone and gotten yourselves caught. Lucky for you, Iva's in the neighborhood. No way, big bro. Is that you, Iva-chan? And the man you're with, isn't he? Kuma, if you're still anything like you used to be, how about coming with us and changing the world? The onset of the Great Pirate Era and the tragedy of Ohara spurred these freedom fighters to take up arms against the corrupt regimes of the world, starting numerous insurrections. Okay, so we've got a shot of the Revolutionary Army with Kuma in there now. So now Kuma is wearing the Revolutionary Army attire. Ivankov is too, and so is Dragon. And Jenny, count me in too. Okay, we've got some designs for characters here. We've got this woman who is wearing a hat with goggles on it. So, is she someone from the Gao Kingdom? Because it was only people from the Gao Kingdom that wear those hats with goggles, top hats with goggles on them, just like Sabo. That was a thing that the nobles in that particular kingdom wore. So, this is a new character, not named. Got another guy here. He kind of looks like he might be a fishman because he looks like he has big gills around his face like a beard. Got another guy who's wearing a mask over his face, a face mask, kind of like a Kakashi wears. He's got a big sword. He's got on a military style hat. Got another guy with a mustache. He's wearing a long coat. We have another person, guy with a bowler hat on. I don't think these guys, well, I can't say that for certain because these are some pretty solid designs, not generic designs, so these might be sort of important characters in the Revolutionary Army. But this confirms that Kuma became a revolutionary first. So he became a revolutionary and the king of Sorbet at the same time, apparently. Or, I guess technically he became a revolutionary first because the Revolutionary Army attacked after Kuma was arrested. It was just good timing. Kuma was arrested, and then the Celestial Dragons attacked and overthrew the king. Kuma joined the Revolutionary Army. But Ivankov says, how about coming with us and changing the world? So that suggests that Kuma is going to leave with the Revolutionary Army since he's joined them. He's leaving with them. But, well, I suppose, yeah, he can still be king even though he left with the Revolutionary Army because Ivankov does that with the Kamabaka Kingdom. He is still the queen of the Kamabaka Kingdom even though he leaves and goes with the Revolutionary Army. So, yeah, Kuma becomes a revolutionary and then the king of Sorbet Kingdom. Okay, with next page. Dragon speaking, we're still lacking funds. For now, we must act like mercenaries, supporting those who already have a will to topple their monarchies, fueling their rebellious spirit. All our recruits get weapons training. All our recruits get weapons training drilled into them. I want us to grow into a boundless army spread throughout the world. Now we've got a ship with, what is that? Does the Revolutionary Army have a symbol? I guess this is supposed to be the symbol of the Revolutionary Army, or Wait. I remember there those flags with RA on them. But this is nothing like that. This, I'm not even sure what it's supposed to be. It looks like a sword or a spike crossing, intersecting with something else. But I guess this symbol, or maybe this is the symbol for the freedom fighters, which was a precursor to the Revolutionary Army. Either way, they're on a ship, a Revolutionary Army ship. Kuma's talking to Dragon. Where did you learn about weapons, Dragon-san? I spent some time with the Navy. Unfortunately, I found no justice there. So this is a big confirmation that actually makes a whole lot of sense, but it wasn't confirmed in the story, but now it's confirmed. Dragon was a naval officer. So Dragon was a naval officer. He turned away from the Navy because he saw no justice, quit, and became a freedom fighter. And this, of course, also provides some characterization for Garp, because after seeing his son turn on the Navy and leave, that would explain why he is so ferociously, or was so ferociously determined to make Luffy an ace and to find Marine officers like him and get them to follow in his footsteps, because he saw what happened with his son. Okay. It also explains why Dragon has that weapons proficiency and why he is strong, because he was probably trained by Garp as a child and perhaps as Marine too. Marine or revolutionary, he's a man determined to help others. This is Ivankov speaking about Dragon. Now, Kuma, you can rely on me, Dragon. And Dragon, you won't regret joining us. Now we've got Kuma returning to the Sorbet Kingdom. Well, I'll be. Look who's back. I'll be coming home every now and then. I worry about you all. You're so sweet, Kumachi. And thus another 8 years would pass. The sun would continue to rise and set like normal. 14 years ago, a certain kingdom. You look excited, Jinny-san. This is just some random revolutionary speaking to Jinny. Jinny is sitting on a crate and she's checking out, inspecting her gun and humming to herself. They're in some kingdom. Jinny is eating, of course. It's that obvious? Can you blame me, though? We're so close to the day where we get to link up with Kumachi's squadron. I'm so happy I can hardly breathe. So now Jinny is looking even more like Bonnie. She's got a bone sticking out of her mouth and she's eating. Captain of the Revolutionary Army's Eastern Forces, Jinny. Okay, so Jinny was a captain. Captain Kuma, that lucky dog, he's won the heart of the lady we all admire. Huh? You creeps admire me? Gross. Your words sting. Revolutionary headquarters in Baltigo. Dragon-san, Dragon-san. Jinny's been captured. Jinny's been captured. So, disturbing news. The enemy took us by surprise. Please forgive us. And this is the end of the chapter. Okay, and there's no break next week, so we are on a little bit of a roll again. So Ginny was a captain in the Revolutionary Army. She's been captured. What kingdom? There's no clues as to what kingdom this is. So what have we got here? There's no indication that Kuma and Ginny are married yet. And Ginny is not pregnant. Okay. Or at least she doesn't look pregnant. She's been separated from Kuma for a while because they're both revolutionary captains and they've been going on different missions in different parts of the world. So she's captain of their eastern forces. Kuma is a captain too, but they haven't indicated what forces particularly he is in charge of. And let's see, if we think about the modern Revolutionary Army, do they have captains? Trying to remember, are they captains? Well, let's see, are they captains? Because is captain of the... Okay, that's what I thought. So the modern guys are commanders. Yeah. So like Morley, Belovetti, Lindbergh, Karasu, they were commanders of forces. So I assume they have a structure that's similar to the Marines, and it kind of makes sense they would have a structure that's sort of similar to the Marines because Dragon himself was a Marine. So he took the Marine command structure and sort of applied that to his Revolutionary Army. So with that in mind, since Bonnie is a captain, or Ginny, excuse me, is a captain, she's not quite at the rank of a commander, even though the Revolutionary Army is still kind of new at this point. But I assume they still have that structure. Maybe Dragon is commander at this stage. Kuma is a captain. Ivankov, you don't know. Maybe Ivankov is captain too. Or maybe Ivankov is a commander, since I'm thinking that Ivankov and Dragon had to meet at some point, and that's probably when they started the idea of a revolutionary army. Let's see. Oh, wait. Scrolling up and looking at the uniforms they have on. Okay. Dragon has 3 stars above his pocket on his uniform. Kuma has no stars, and Ivankov has no stars. So, if that's a ranking thing, I'm assuming the 3 stars means that Kuma is, or Dragon is, I don't know if 3 stars means a leader or commander or... but it definitely means that Ivankov and Kuma are the same rank at this point. So I'm going to assume they're all captains. And so Jenny got kidnapped. It has to be the world government or the Marines that did it. So is this going to be a battle to take Ginny back? But scrolling up, let's see. Kuma is not the king of Sorbet Kingdom yet. He's returning to the kingdom every once in a while to take care of the people and make sure everything's still okay, but he's not officially the king yet. Kuma had a reputation as tyrant king. Tyrant king. Yeah, I swear he had that reputation as tyrant king. So, another possibility. Could it be Kuma's revolutionary at this point? The world government eventually gets some sort of... They take something important to Kuma and hold it as leverage against him to make him become a warlord. Did they then, after making him a warlord, after that, install him as king and send him back to the Sorbet Kingdom to enact Celestial Dragon style policies like the previous king was doing? And that would explain why he got the reputation as a tyrant king. He had to carry out cruel actions on the behalf of the world government because he had no choice. And then that gave him a reputation as a tyrant king. Because it's clear, one thing is 100% sure at this point, Bonnie hasn't been born yet. So if Ginny dies, which is pretty likely that she does, she can't die yet because Bonnie hasn't been born. So this could be just a small incident, small using quotation marks, where Kuma ends up rescuing Ginny, and then after that, the danger and threat of possibly almost losing Ginny, that is the final push that lets Kuma decide to marry Ginny. Then they have Bonnie. Then disaster strikes for real. I'm thinking that's going to be the arc this takes. Because Ginny can't die now because Bonnie hasn't been born. Kuma's not a king yet, so I'm assuming that has to have his becoming the king of Sorbet Kingdom has to take place either before he joins the warlords or immediately at the same time or after he joins the warlords. Yeah, I don't see it after he joins the warlords. So it has to be at the same time, either before or at the same time as he joins the warlords. Using those two events in Kuma's life as anchor points, we can kind of sort of work around that to see where the story should go. I'm thinking he has to marry Ginny before he becomes a warlord, or yeah, before he becomes a warlord and a king as well. So the order of events should go: Kuma is going to rescue Ginny. The Revolutionary Army and Kuma are going to rescue Ginny here. They're going to get married. maybe after getting married, Kuma returns to the Sorbet Kingdom with Ginny. They have Bonnie. Perhaps the world government comes to attack the Sorbet Kingdom, knowing that Kuma is there, or knowing that Kuma is originally from there. They come to attack the kingdom, and perhaps in that situation, Ginny is killed, and Kuma decides, in order to save Bonnie from being killed, that he will offer himself up to the world government. And at that point, he would be a really, really big fish, a big catch for the world government, getting a member of the Revolutionary Army, one of the three pillars of the Revolutionary Army. So that is one possibility that seems to fit. But yeah, this is a big flashback. In terms of the Egghead Island arc, I think it's definitely looking more and more like Kuma has to show up at the end. So Kuma's going to be that final piece that allows the Straw Hats to escape the situation that they're in and get Vegapunk off the island. And because this flashback is so big, it's spanning multiple chapters now and bringing it in quite a bit of lore about the world, the Revolutionary Army, and events that are sort of nexus that connect to a huge number of the big major players in the story right now. Okay. So we'll have a small crisis here with Ginny. The question is, who are we going to see in terms of Ginny's captors? This is what, 14 years ago at this point. Wait a minute, 14 years ago. Wait just 1 second. Just 14 years ago and Bonnie hasn't been born yet? Okay. Let's look up Bonnie's age here. Yeah, 22. That's what I thought, 22. Okay, so we could just swap the times around a little bit. So 14 years ago, Ginny captured. Let's see, we have one more time marker. What's that? Yeah, 22 years ago, something major happened. 22 years ago. Okay, so if Bonnie is actually 22 years old, or wait, 24 actually, since she's supposed to be 24 after the time skip. Right, so 24. So if Bonnie is actually 24 years ago, then when Kuma gets arrested, Bonnie should be 2 years old. Bonnie should already have been born and be 2 years old at this point. Okay, but they're not showing it. And 25 years ago is when Ginny asked Kuma to marry her, or basically brought up the idea of getting married. Kuma is worried about his Buccaneer blood and the danger Ginny would be in if they got married, so he's dodging the subject. And there's no Bonnie here, so Bonnie hasn't been born. At least we haven't seen her. So basically, I'm thinking that the way this is going is definitely confirming that Bonnie is not 22. Or I should say, she wasn't born 22 or 24 years ago. Unless she is being intentionally kept hidden at this point. And Ginny has already had Bonnie, and they're just not showing her, but that does not make sense at all. Since we're showing the relationship building between Ginny and Kuma. Then we have Ginny and Kuma joining the Revolutionary Army, and there's no sign of them showing like any concern about what will happen to Bonnie. No, should we take Bonnie with us, or who will we leave Bonnie with when we're gone? None of that. So this chapter is actually giving us a roundabout confirmation that Bonnie's physical age does not match her chronological age. So the age of her body is 24 years old thanks to her devil fruit powers. So she is a 24-year-old, but she was actually born 13 or less years ago, assuming, yeah, Certain Kingdom 14 years ago. There's Ginny, she's a captain. She gets taken by the Marines. She doesn't die yet, or, yeah, because Bonnie's not here. She's not been born. So they'll have to get her back. Then they'll get married and have Bonnie. So yeah, I almost didn't pay attention and missed that. But yeah, we get confirmation that Bonnie is younger chronologically than her physical body is. So that explains the thing that I kept noticing throughout the previous chapters. We had Vegapunk. and then J. Garcia, specifically referring to Bonnie as a child. And they don't refer to anyone else on the island as a child, even though most of the people involved in the incident are around Bonnie's age. So I mean, they should be calling Luffy child, or Sanji and Zoro children, Nami or Usopp. None of them. It specifically referred to Bonnie as a child. And with Vegapunk, you could use the whole Vegapunk. You could use the reasoning that he's a friend of Kuma's. He's seen Bonnie grow up her entire life. He's a friend of the family and all that, so it would be natural for him to refer to Bonnie as a child, regardless of her age. But then we have Jay Garcia, who is definitely not a friend in any way to Kuma or Kuma's family. So for him to call Bonnie a child, it's a objective judgment in his mind of her age. She is a child. Okay. So that's another big thing. Confirmation that Bonnie has aged herself up to 24 with the power of her devil fruit. Now, the question then becomes, was that an intentional decision? Because actually, if we go back to the previous chapter, see if we can do that. There is a small silhouette flashback of Kuma, was it Bonnie, remembering. Actually, we should probably go back 2 chapters. Yeah. There was that silhouetted flashback where Bonnie is a child and she's dancing with Kuma as Kuma is explaining the story of Nika, the sun god, to her. No age is given at that time, of course, because it's just a little flashback. Yep. And the silhouette of Kuma does look like the current Kuma, or Kuma of like 14 years ago or so. And then Bonnie looks small, but it's hard to tell since Kuma's a Buccaneer and he's massive. But she does look like a child here. And then we have other flashbacks showing Kuma holding up a baby Bonnie. So yeah. So the question is, was that a conscious decision to age herself up, or perhaps is it just some result of having the devil fruit at all that made her 22 or 24? That is an interesting question. So that's probably something else I have to confirm in the next chapter. So keeping that order in mind that I originally proposed, order of events, then Bonnie has to be born pretty shortly after Kuma rescues Ginny in this situation. So next chapter will probably be the events of Ginny being rescued from the Marines. It'll be interesting to see what Marines or what this enemy force is that captured her. It might be an opportunity to see some more Marine officers in their younger days in action, because this will be about the time that Garp is training up Aokiji, and it actually could be Borsellino who shows up here. Oh yeah, that would be a good intersection. A young Kizaru could kidnap Ginny here. That will lead to Kizaru and Kuma and Dragon meeting. And let's see. Dragon. Yes, they have to meet Vegapunk at some time shortly around this area of time too. So could they meet Kizaru while rescuing Ginny? But let me scroll back up, because the narrator mentioned the Ohara incident. So the Ohara incident happened before this all went down, which does make sense. And Dragon was already a freedom fighter at that point. Man, it's going to be interesting to go back and read the earlier Egghead chapters, the ones that introduced Dragon, show Dragon meeting Vegapunk and young Kizaru, and then correlate the times of those flashbacks, the times being shown of those flashbacks, to what is happening to Kuma in Kuma's life, and see if we can trace to when the intersection happens. But yeah, I better wrap this up, because right now I'm just thinking and trying to put things together in my mind, and I can't do that entirely without reading through some of the old chapters. So I have to end this review here. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next chapter. No break, so next week. At least it looks like there's no break. So I will see you all next week. Till then, take care.